Hello, welcome to Chess67, at which I'm going to do some comparisons of magazines, recent magazines. But before I do that, I'm just going to try and get the camera making a bit more sense. I've actually had to clear up in this room, which is pleasing, but not sufficiently pleasing to giving it any sense. Oh, that might be all right. How's that? Is that okay? Yes, I think so. Now, the three magazines I'm going to look at, these are the most recent issues I have for all three of them. The British Chess Magazine, American Chess Magazine, and Chess. Two of these are long established, and the third is been around for about 10 years or so, perhaps a bit less. All of them are modern in approach, and I'm not going to say anything unkind about them. I'm simply going to do, as I say, a comparison. Now, this is the British Chess Magazine, which I used to be associated with, and I'm frequently asked what happened then. The answer is I wasn't well enough to continue, but never mind. I'm frequently asked at all. Let's go through and see what we get. This is very colourful. Look at that. A bit better than that, could you? This is an article by Peter O'Brien, a comparatively new name on the chess scene, possibly. And he writes about the history of chess on the Iberian Peninsula, with particular reference and leading into the candidates, which was held recently in Madrid. He calls it cracking the candidate code. In other words, who's going to win and what's going to happen. And he talks about the coming of the Moors and the game which we love so well. And here's a picture of Isabella Castile, one of the sponsors, I think I'm wrong in saying, of Christopher Columbus. And she looks suitably Tudor. In point of fact, she isn't. I don't know if she was dragged in to become a Tudor queen or perhaps a candidate to become so. A candidate, that's what it isn't. Think for the moment, there are not many other cases where a woman has wielded such power, and certainly not that far back in history. Eleanor of Aquitaine had earlier enjoyed considerable power, yet her second marriage to King Henry II of England brought severe curbs to that power. Other women were having substantial influence at different times and places, yet Isabella was seen to be in charge and was at the centre of breathtaking decisions, good and bad. Now, you would own that she agreed to support the voyages of Columbus to the Americas. Yes, Columbus was quite a naughty boy. He used to go to sort of Catholic courts and say, I wouldn't like to support the Protestants, and go to Protestants and say, those Catholics, they've coughed off a few quid. Could you do similarly or better? There's something about the Lucena position. And here it is. You can never see the Lucena position too often, can you? I think somebody told me it was pronounced Lucchini or something. I don't quite understand why. There it is. It's all about bringing your king out and then building a bridge and then putting the rook in the way, and then finally queening your pawn. There's a photograph of San Sebastian 1911 tournament. Unfortunately, the players were a bit distant, a bit soy distant. It was during the 1940s that the international tournaments in Spain came alive due to its neutrality in World War II. Now, that's interesting because we call it a world war and then we speak of neutrality. And when we say that, the only thing I would have thought of would have been Switzerland. History of Spain's country prolonged political isolation from many international circuits did not figure, which meant that the international chess did not figure for a very long time. Mentions San Sebastian and the 1970 Interzonal won by Bobby Fischer at Palma de Mallorca. Yeah. Andalusi and Linares, of course, no fewer than 27 world-class events from 1978 to 2010. You know, he's done his homework, because that's not something you quickly get out of a history book, as I might like to do it. He's obviously, I say counted them up, that sounds belittling, but he's obviously done proper quality research. Chess is meant to exercise our minds, and that through an adversarial structure. Let's hope we succeed, it says. And here is a sort of mysterious bit of artwork asking us, can we crack the enigma of win the candidates? Well, Nepo, as I call him, because I can't pronounce his name properly. Won the candidates. And it gives some games by the Chinese man Ding Liren, who qualified for the candidates by the skin of his teeth. He hadn't played enough, but the Chinese force-fed him, which brought his quota up to enough games. And he took, quite correctly, I would like to think, the final place out of the 8. Here is the double page spread you get. It's not too cramped, but it is highly technical. There we are. And a nice photograph. I think you'll probably find they've got photographs of all the champions. Duda of Poland. And there's Nepo, who has qualified for the second time to play Magnus Carlsen for the World Championships. I can't even remember where they're going to be playing it. Perhaps it's not yet known. That's surprising, isn't it? Nakamura there as well, bearded gentleman. And here is the palace. Presumably they played. I'm not really sure you want to see that in the chess magazine, do you? Double spread of history. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. I'm sure it has some relevance. It gives very usefully the scheduling, the timetable for the event. Now here's a tournament report by Sean Talbot of the English seniors. That's over 50 and over 65, I think. There's 2 of them. Extremely interesting game where Cliff Chandler, a Kent player, beats Paul Littlewood. Sean calls it the Modern Scandinavian. Sean wrote many years ago a book on the centre counter with my friend, the late Ron Harman. And here the opening is trotted out again by Cliff Chandler, who puts a twist to it. Rather than taking on d5 or playing knight f6, he plays knight f6, sorry, and then after d4 he plays bishop g4, something which may be known as the Portuguese variation. And here's the results. There we are. So tables of results. These may be as interesting to you as a bus timetable. On the other hand, there may be food and drink. Here is a reproduction of an article which appeared in BCM in about 1945, I think. And this is an article by Jacques Mises. I'm told that should be Mises, but I didn't know that. And it is of the late Frank Marshall. Marshall was universally liked because of an unassuming and friendly manner. He had the easy and cheery disposition of one of nature's children. One should read the autobiography in his My 50 Years of Chess, which I mentioned above. Marshall appears as truly to himself. Reading this book, those who knew him can hear him speak. So much for thinking that Fred Reinfeldt wrote it, eh? And here's another reproduction article from Czech, a magazine I don't think I've ever seen, by Cecil Purdy, and a tribute to Napier, another Marshall game. Here's an article by Ray Keane, who's had his wings clipped about 2 or 3 years ago, didn't he? I don't mean that disrespectfully to Ray, I don't. But he did lose a couple of jobs, the Times and the Spectator, and these have been passed on to younger grandmasters. He's talking about playing G6 in conjunction, I think, with A6. No, he isn't. He's talking about playing G6 in conjunction, but not with A6, but with D6 probably. Here's quotes and queries by Alan Smith, a very kind chap. Bits of history. Another article by Peter O'Brien, which is in fact a review of the 2 books published by Elk and Ruby about the Soviet championships. And some pretty rare photographs here. Not that clear, but you can see that all the guys with Botvinnik watching. And on that one, Karez watching. That's Karez, I think. Let's see if I'm right. Yes, I think so. The game is between Lilienthal and Bondarevsky. There's a picture of Alekhine and one of Smyslov. And there's endgame studies by Ian Watson. There we are, 4 numbered, quite stylishly with big numbers. See that? I wonder if you can actually work the positions out. Arsevich, Nielsen, Matthaus, Rybinin. And he talks about the European Championship of solving, obviously, he writes. Quiet but deadly. This is Openings for Amateurs by Pete Tambora, my friend. Years ago, a group of chess master friends of mine and I would meet for chess and inadvisable for our waistlines dining. Yes, Pete, tell me about it. And he looks at some games with very detailed notes, I have to say, by Bent Larsen in the 1964 Interzonal, which was one of Larsen's early great triumphs. I mean, he played well and he had won things before, but this was putting him in the world arena. And he stayed there for much of the 60s and 70s. Only in the 1980s did his results fall away, which was a shame, but these things happen. I've also skipped across Problem World by Christopher Jones. 4 positions. There you go. There's an obituary of Yuri Averbach. And a couple of games, just with a few comments. And the solutions to the problems, solutions to the end games. There we are. It's done in columns and headed up, so you can look back and see how you got on. So that is the British Chess Magazine. Now, by way of indirect comparison. This is the American Chess magazine, which came yesterday in the post from the US of A. I don't know that young man, but he doesn't look very happy. State and local chess. An outright winner in Charlotte GM Invitational. A double clean sweep in Virginia. American Cup and St. Louis. The Ontario Open, Canada, of course. An advert for the Thinkers Press. I would have thought these are not titles well known to me. Nothing wrong with that. All the more reason to look at them. But I don't know about them. An advert for a clock. The official clock of the 29th Chess Olympiad. Really? All right. There you are. Pictures of various masters and rankings according to FIDE. Top 10 women, top 10 men, top 10 in the world, women. Here's the man that won 9-0. And there he is winning 9-0. The managing editor, Dusan Krunik. Just when you were putting the final touches to our previous issue, just when we were putting the final touches to our previous issue, number 26, received the results of the third Colonial Open. I'm not sure that the third Colonial Open is of world importance, but they certainly give it a good thrashing. It says that the Ukrainian GM crushed the field. Boy with a teddy bear. There's a boy here with his teddy. I think that's more important. Picture of the Grandmasters, don't you? Where is it? Oh, there he is. See him in the green, and Teddy is in white. Could be a polar bear, I suppose. It's not a bear. Why wouldn't it be called a teddy? Wow. And he won all 9 games in the event. And here is Susan Polgar, who was also at the event. I don't think blonde hair suits her, do you? There she is. She's done an astronomical amount for chess. So I'm in no position to criticise her. However, said that, no. After coming to the States, he was what is the greatest benefit you've experienced on the road to your chess improvement? And he replies, undoubtedly the greatest benefit I've experienced was the ability to work in a team with some of the best players in the whole world. It is a great feeling when you can get immediate feedback on your progress. I'm sure it is. Here is the Webster University chess team, winners of the 2018 Pan Am Intercollegiate Championship. It's a photograph by David Ludder, who does a lot of photographs for them. There they are, looking happy, I suppose, and certainly determined. I can't see anybody middle-aged or old. This is called a double clean sweep, and this is the Colonial Open. This is David versus Goliath. In other words, the underdog won. And here is a man wearing a mask. There's a word about the controllers, the organising team. So there should be. And the America's Cup, article by Irina Krush, a lady who's a grandmaster and also commentator, obviously. Been in the game for a very long time. He was a frequent visitor to Hastings. So I must have seen her. I can't remember, but I must have. There she is, smiling for the camera. It's always nice when people can be bothered, isn't it? A very special Canadian chess event by George Supol, who is a consultant and Canadian CPA, CA, for over 40 years of related experience. You see, I haven't got the faintest idea what that means. No doubt I could be told off for not knowing. I'm just trying to be honest, and I don't know. I am a foreigner. Oh, look, they had very high winds and a tree blew down. Just to look realistic. There's the tree, not the tarmac. I think funny weather conditions are going to become a fact of life, increasingly, aren't they? Annotated games, nothing too heavy. Jacques Katz Spirit of Chess Award. And the winner is Plotkin. Presented the award to his father, Victor Plotkin. Well done, Victor Plotkin. It's a game from the under 1400s. That's USCF scale, but it's about the same as ELO. And we've even got ELO now in this country, which we didn't. I think we should stick with the old ECF grades, but really, I was wrong. Here is Mr. Agard talking about automatic decisions, candidate moves, weaknesses, strategic decisions, and calculation. An article about chess in Wyoming by Alex Fishbein, a player whom I know a little. I think he's a very nice chap. And here is Broaden Your Horizons with Alexander Kolovich, Alex Kolovich, also writes for BCM. And there he is, smiling. Keep going. Sarah Walsh and Idia Onyango have chess set Will Travel. Ooh. And here's a game they played. And another young lady. Sort of a travelogue. What's the longest you've been put on the road playing chess? 6 weeks is the longest I've been on the road with 3 tournaments played. Mathematics of the Mind, Best in Chess Game. Sunday Star, Washington, reprint from 1929. Picture of Alekine forcing a smile, cracking a smile. And Capablanca, who was always more seemingly relaxed in public than his counterpart. The uncompromising fighter. This is a man who's 15. He's already won a tournament. He was one of the lowest rated. This is the Charlotte NC Spring. He's a 15-year-old. I am from Georgia with 1 GM norm. I imagine I'll be getting a lot more GM norms where that one is concerned. Where that one came from. This is a game of ping pong. You put John up and let's look at this. Put the net across the chessboard. There we are. Structural weaknesses that the in-game reveals. Again, an article by Mr. Fishbein. He begins with a game of Frank Marshall's against Nimzovich. Yes, from New York, 1927. Well, you couldn't get more exciting than that, could you? Q&A. What grandmasters advise young players? Some results. Some cross tables. All legible. All stuff I'd never seen before. There we are. And it's nicely bound and very colourful. I mean, it has to be, doesn't it? Because it's going to stand on a newsstand. So that's the two of the three. And the last one I'm going to show you. Chess. This is published in London. It grew out of the magazine from Sutton Coldfield from so long ago. Chess is the highlight of my life. An interview with Levon Aronian, a proud Armenian now living in St. Louis. They dragged him across the Pacific Ocean. Or was it the Atlantic Ocean? I think it was the Atlantic Ocean. So if you see someone rowing past, you'll know he's trying to escape. But chess is one of those sorts of things that once you get hooked, you can't escape. And I prove it. The benefits of experience. The candidates begin in Madrid with victories for 2 players with a candidate tournament victory under their belts. Yes, that's true. And there's Malcolm, who is the owner. There he is. A man who's done a very, very great deal for chess. And continues to do that too. A game by Anand. Some photographs. I think an article about the Capablanca Memorial. Yes. Isn't quite the large gathering it once was. David Levy and Ray Keane sometimes used to hook off to it. But they didn't play this year. Bulmaga. Irina Bulmaga. She won the tournament and she's from Romania. Well, you have to have some foreign players in international events. Otherwise they wouldn't be international, would they? How to Beat a Grandmaster, Part 7 by Paul Littlewood. And to prove it, here's Terry Chapman beating Kovacevic. Terry, who has put a fair bit of money, I think, privately into chess. And a large advert, including Michael Adams' book, which I haven't seen yet. Hint, hint, if any publisher's watching this, you can send it in. But I'll have a little look through it. A friend of mine, I haven't seen him for years, but nevertheless, Joe Gallagher. If anybody's got any electric razors to send Joe, he might need it. That's a bit weird, isn't it? The seniors. Oh, yes. Well, the seniors was dealt with by Sean Talbot. And here's Mark Hebden receiving the trophy from Nigel Towers, whom I don't know, but looks a good guy. Here's a man that's done an enormous amount. Carl Portman, who's done an enormous amount for chess in prisons and also writing about chess. Never takes himself any too seriously. He's never flippant either. He steers a happy course, possibly because he is such a genuine person. An interview with Jonathan Arnott. I have heard of him. I think he was a Euro MP. He wrote a book, which I got sent some years back. I haven't kept it, but nevertheless. I don't know enough about what's going on behind the scenes to be sure, but attracting sponsorship is such a specialized skill. Are we providing the right shop window for the ECF? Do we do enough to match events to what sponsors want to sponsor, rather than just asking them to pay for what we'd be happy doing anyway? That's a very interesting comment, particularly with regard to this year's British Championships in Torquay. There's quite a lot of players in it, but there's quite a lot of players missing. This is a man that set up a record. George Warham, who has become an IM at Postal Chess. And here's a lady I once had the pleasure of meeting, Antoinetta Stepanova, giving a symbol, no doubt. And there she is again against Tallulah Roberts. And an article called Still Dedicated, Mr. Aronian. It's an interview, but rather less firing off random questions and 60 seconds to answer. It's more detailed. Here's some reviews of some old books. I'm not really sure that this was necessary, but I'm guilty as anybody of recycling reviews and looking at old books. Alekhine's Anguish, Kings of New York, The Day Kasparov Quit. Readers' letters. You don't often get that anymore, do you? I'm sure they're all emails. Here's Reshevsky playing against Averbach. I'm told that Reshevsky was probably the most stage-struck grandmaster ever. So it's a feather sort of going like this, looking scholarly. What scholarly? Of course it was. Another huge advert. Daniel King, his grandmaster Daniel King. How good is your chess? He asks. How good indeed. There's a picture of the youngest ever British lady champion. Street, she got the title. Up to then it was held by Elaine Saunders, Mrs. Pritchard. Here's a little teasers. Very, very good way to improve your game. I'm no advert for it, but there we are. Set the positions up. See if you can work out, once you know whose move it is, see if you can find a plan. Well, this is a Super GM special. Tell you something, he's got a nicer shirt than I've got. I always find nice shirts like that often made out of terrible material. So you sort of get hold of them thinking they will be, cotton, linen, or whatever. And they sort of, you don't like the feel of them. Here's the home news, including Brendan Jameson, a world-renowned sponsor. He's created 30 uniquely designed Elmer elephants for the streets of Belfast, and they have chess pieces on them. Let me show them. See that? So it's not a white elephant. It is in fact multi-coloured. So this is home news, 2 pages, some tweets or whatever they are down here. Yes, Twitter, yes. An article, overseas news about the death of Nikitin. And solutions, there he is, a bit like Bruce Wayne, with his protege, Garrett Weinstein, who faded out. I think he was never any good at chess. Some book reviews, new titles, by Sean Marsh. I'm extremely jealous because I don't get sent some of these. But there we are. Forthcoming events. Thank goodness there are some forthcoming events, ladies and gentlemen. Irish Championships, the Scottish Championship, the Golders Green Rapid Play, the Cleethorpes Rapid Play. Don't miss that. Saunders on chess, the one and only John Saunders. And a game by A.H. Williams, Howard Williams. And a win by Tony Coston against the one and only, the late Andrew Whiteley. Fondly remembered. Miss Cyan Bar, I think I'm right in saying. The bloke with no hair is Mr. Keith Arkle, the Grandmaster. And here's a page of, if you subscribe, as I do, you'll get it every month through the post, as you will with the other ones. And they give you discounts on the recent books. Well, there we are. A gentle breeze through 3 very good chess magazines. If you want to subscribe, you can either Google it and get all the information. I'm sure you can subscribe online. Or contact me and I'll pass the message on. Thank you very much for listening. I've been James Pratt, and neither of you.